Orion Pictures winning an Oscar is the highest honor that can be bestowed upon a filmmaker. Ask them to reflect on an Oscar-winning film they directed, wrote or starred in, and a typical response should be one of pride in their creation. Everyone knows that the Academy Awards are never that simple though. With 89 ceremonies to go by, there have been a fair few controversies each and every year, with snubs, presenting mishaps and undeserving winners exemplifying awards premiere event almost every year. That means regret, and as filmmakers take the time to ruminate on their past successes and failures, quite a few have come out and stated what they feel went wrong with their projects, even if they were bestowed with Hollywood's highest honor. It's an odd situation no matter how you look at it, and with filmmakers regretting everything from specific sequences to behind-the-scenes drama, it proves that a whole lot of blood, sweat and tears goes into these productions. Some, in rare occasions, bemoan the fact their project won where others should have. With snubs, flubs, and controversy galore, the following films prove that, even if you win an Oscar, the story is far from over. Page 2. Fox Searchlight Pictures. When Diablo Cody won the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay for her work on Juno, it was considered something of a breakout success. The film, which starred Ellen Page and Michael Cera, was universally acclaimed and ended the year gracing most of 2007's critics' best of lists, but it wasn't without controversy. Given the film deals with teenage pregnancy and the titular character's decision to give birth and not seek an abortion, various pro-life groups in the US and elsewhere began to latch onto it as an ostensibly anti-choice movie, which was obviously not Cody's intent. Speaking to The Guardian while promoting her latest film, Tully, the writer spoke out on the controversy that followed Juno's release and how perhaps the film could have been more explicit regarding Juno's motivations not to seek an abortion. I don't feel I was clear enough in terms of why Juno chose to not have an abortion. It was simply because she did not want to. It was not about any type of feeling that abortion was wrong, in pro-choice. So for it to be interpreted as an anti-choice movie, that's upsetting to me. Page 3. Orion Pictures. The Silence of the Lambs is one of the best thrillers going, and launched Jodie Foster into a whole other level of prominence with her performance as FBI agent Clarice Starling. Foster won an Academy Award for her performance, while the film's director, the late Jonathan Demme, won the Academy's Best Director Oscar. The film itself went on to win Best Picture and Best Adapted Screenplay. Anthony Hopkins won the award for Best Actor, while losing to Terminator 2 in the Best Sound Mixing category. Demme wasn't entirely satisfied with the finished product. While the director bemoaned the infamous dance sequence involving Buffalo Bill for obfuscating the character's motivations, more interesting, perhaps, is his wish that the film had explored Hannibal Lecter's own traumatic childhood. As Roger Ebert noted in his 2001 retrospective on the second Hannibal film, Demme had aimed to reiterate the link between Hopkins' Lecter and Foster's Starling. Both are ostracized by the worlds they want to inhabit, Ebert wrote, and in wanting to hammer the point home further, Demme himself had wanted to illustrate that Hannibal, like Clarice, had experienced trauma at an early age. Though subsequent features starring Thomas Harris, famous serial killer, would explore this element, it's fascinating to consider what Demme would they portrayed, even if Silence remains one of the finest thrillers of the 20th century. Page 4. Lionsgate Crash is widely considered to be just about the worst film to win Best Picture, releasing during the year that saw both Brokeback Mountain and Munich receive plaudits right across the board. Many at the time felt as though Ang Lee's neo-western starring Jake Gyllenhaal and Heath Ledger deserved the lion's share of the evening's awards, but instead the evening's highest prize went to Crash, a film with all the subtlety of a steaming locomotive and none of the power to match. Speaking to approx 9 years after the film's release, Haggis actually admitted that the film probably didn't deserve to win Best Picture, citing the aforementioned Brokeback Mountain and Munich as features superior to his own, along with the equally formidable Capote, which starred Philip Seymour Hoffman in the title role. Was it the best film of the year? I don't think so. There were great films that year. Good Night and Good Luck, amazing film. Capote, terrific film. Ang Lee's Brokeback Mountain, great film. And Spielberg's Munich. I mean, please, what a year. Though Haggis maintains that the film's stereotypes were constructed as a means of addressing racial prejudice, many felt as though the film wasn't mature enough to juggle the themes it was trying to address. In any case, in a year that saw Brokeback Mountain, Munich, Capote and even Walk the Line, Crash's Best Picture win stands out like a sore thumb. Page 5 Universal The Phantom Thread was one of 2017's best features, but it didn't experience the easiest of productions. Daniel Day-Lewis and Paul Thomas Anderson reportedly clashed over the final cut of the project, which even inspired Lewis' decision to retire from acting shortly after the film's release. Citing the decision to film entirely on location in a Georgian townhouse, Lewis took issue with the production schedule and how neither the cast nor the crew were afforded much privacy on set. While the actor later clarified that the struggles were worth it, one can only speculate as to how production influenced his later decision to retire. Lewis summed up his thoughts on the matter in an interview with W magazine, stating, "Before making the film, I didn't know I was going to stop acting. I do know that Paul and I laughed a lot before we made the movie. And then we stopped laughing because we were both overwhelmed by a sense of sadness. That took us by surprise. We didn't realize what we had given birth to. It was hard to live with. And still is." The actor has of course to retire in the past, but this occasion feels slightly more genuine. At the very least, HES left us all with a spectacular filmography. Page 6 Warner Brothers. Yes, you heard right. Suicide Squad is an Oscar-winning movie. The film didn't attain this honor through its writing, acting or directing though, but rather through its costume design which, to be fair, was rather spectacular. In any case, while the film certainly looked good in certain respects, it failed in pretty much every way imaginable elsewhere. The plot was stilted, the acting wooden, and the whole thing an anticlimax. But it wasn't irredeemable, and with the Squad's Dirty Dozen-style premise having paid dividends in the comics countless times before, a big-screen adaptation shouldn't have been so difficult. In fact, when the film did release, many fans wondered why the film's director, David Ayer, didn't simply look to the animated Assault on Arkham film that released just a few years earlier. That film made the Joker the villain of the piece, and when a fan reached out to Ayer on Twitter asking why he didn't do the same, he admitted it was his mistake too. Page 7 Universal Pictures Steven Spielberg is one of the most treasured filmmakers working today, and his Amblin Entertainment classic E.T. is often considered to be one of his finest works. As with other seminal 80s classics, E.T. did, however, run into some controversy years after its original release. Like Star Wars, which Spielberg cites as a primary reason for his digital amendments to E.T., the director's family classic was re-released with digital alterations years later. In came a CGI puppet in certain sequences, out went the guns on FBI agents. It was really odd, and it appears as though the director agrees, having revealed his only regret regarding the film related to those remasters. Speaking to Screen Rant, Spielberg remarked that, although social media wasn't as profound as it is today, a backlash, a loud negative voice about, "How could you ruin our favorite childhood film by taking the guns away and putting walkie-talkies in their hands among other things," erupted. Continuing, Spielberg said that he learned a big lesson and that's the last time I decided to ever mess with the past. What's done is done, and I'll never go back and do another movie I've made and I have control over to enhance a change. At least we'll never have to fear the retroactive insertion of CGI gophers into Raiders anytime soon.